Hi,
welcome to Wobbleman. This is another fancy edition, and I'm here with Jerry Willis, who is my dad. I'm Kim Pearl. I live in Missouri, and he lives in Texas, and we connect often and talk about his latest inventions. And so today we will continue with the fluid stream driven motor, also known as the wobble blade motor, that Dad has a patent on, and it holds so much hope for our future. So, Dad, tell us a little bit about your thoughts today and how we will move along and what we have to learn.
well, my first thought is I want to congratulate you for getting your doctorate. I know that's been a long time coming.
Yeah, thank you. It's very satisfying and it was a lot of work, but I think kind of a chip off the chump like that. I get questions that I just have to have answers for. And so I did a deep dive research on in something in the practice of ministry, which that is a total different thing that I should probably do a live Zoom on differently at some other time. But thanks, Dad. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Oh, also, this theme of this video will be that a beautiful world is coming. We have a lot of turmoil in the world, and of course, the world has always had its certain amount of turmoil, sometimes worse, sometimes not so much.
Well,
I
there'll
don't
be a
want to
lot
say,
of people disagree with you on that.
oh yeah, well,
But I see what you're saying.
I'm the eternal optimist, and of
Hmm.
course, I know that
Yeah.
in my trip through life so far, it's had its ups and downs, but at this time, I'm going to say I have a beautiful world. It's really wonderful. Everything is incredibly good right now.
And I'm
It,
sure as you think about developing the projects that you work on, you think on how to make things better and see it come to be. So I can see that. I
you
can
know,
see that.
it's
Yeah.
my life really is trying to improve every situation that
Uh-huh.
I'm in, and it's really a habit forming thing. But I think everybody does that to a degree.
Uh-huh.
We all have problems, and we come up with solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Some people choose the wrong solution, and that's why we have beggars on the street, I suspect, in some cases.
Or
It's
wars in other
a matter
countries
of choices.
and others are harmed at the hand of war. Yeah. Conflicts.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. But progress can't be stopped. And that's what I want to talk about with regard to the fluid stream driven motor. So, to lead into this, legend has it that Prometheus brought mankind fire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fire has been the big event in man's progress through the centuries. It may have even started lightning striking a tree and set the tree on fire. And man was able to grasp the wood that was on fire and build on that to the point that eventually man found out that fire would make steam.
Mm-hmm.
Steam has been used primarily, even today, steam is probably the primary source of our energy production. It's generated from
Yeah.
gas,
Yeah, I like
fire.
to think that maybe women came up with steam, they learned to cook and
Well, they
the
may
heat
have
that
absolutely. Yeah, it
and that
made their
just
life
rose
easy.
off of that and how to harness that. And
Yeah, and made their
who
life easier
knows?
because
Yeah. Hmm.
beating a rock on the fabric to clean it at the
Sure.
stream. It's a lot better to have a washing machine like we have today, which is powered by electricity, which goes back to in America. Uh, some hydrocarbon is producing the heat that drives the steam that drives the generators.
There you go.
It's distributed, so we're still dependent on heat largely today to produce energy. But energy production, I'm saying, is on the cusp of change, and with that, it's going to bring a whole new world uh, in, into place. And along with that is the advent of 3D printing.
Mhm.
3D printing is going to revolutionize energy production.
I think it's revolutionizing a lot of stuff right now.
It certainly is.
Yeah. Do you have a 3D printer?
I had one, but I actually gave it away recently because I found a better way to go. I had a Luzbot 3D printer,
Uh-huh.
spent a little over $2,000 getting it all together.
Yeah.
Uh, because I always go over the top with everything. I bought the printer, then I bought a housing for it so that it would be protected.
Oh,
And
right. Okay.
then I bought several spools of filament,
Uh-huh.
and those are about $25 a copy for the spools of filament that are used to feed these things.
Yeah.
I met an engineer, a young graduate engineer. He just graduated. In fact, they just had a baby. He was an engineer who had, I had produced the STL files, which is the 3D file turned into a printable file, STL files.
Yeah.
I designed this wobble blade motor in 3D, sent the STLs to him. He modified them a little bit, and they were very positive modifications that he made to my STLs. Then he printed the parts, so that proved to me that the parts could actually be printed. He sent back photographs of the parts
Wow.
that he printed.
Uh-huh.
He lives over in Beaumont. Now,
Okay.
from that, I had the STLs. He sent me a copy of his STLs, and I had those printed, and then I assembled this wobble blade motor.
And
And
STL stands for,
I really don't even know. It's just the name of the file. It's
right,
it's a file that,
the file name.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's the file
Or
suffix is
file,
actually, it's the dot suffix
yes,
STL. I have no idea
right.
what STL stands for.
Uh-huh.
Never really dug into that one.
That's fine.
Yeah, but he spent a good bit of time producing or taking my uh, parts and producing the STLs. A lot of time and effort on his part, and of course, I wasn't paying him to do that because this, you never know where things are going to go. At that
Yeah.
time, we were looking at offering STLs to high school students because most high schools have a department where they have a 3D printer and they do 3D modeling.
Uh-huh.
My idea at that time was to offer these STLs to schools and have a competition on who could improve the STL or the design of the fluid stream driven motor, who could make the best improvement on it. There would be a contest amongst all the schools, and then from there we would pick a winner who would be given a patent on his new modification to the fluid stream driven motor.
Oh,
It
okay.
didn't happen. That didn't happen because the guy that was part of the group that we had never was able to get a purchase order. So
Oh.
if you can't get a purchase order, you don't have any money to work with. So I said, okay, let's call a halt to this because it's going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I really do think that's a good concept, and the idea was to get kids thinking and out of the box, so to speak.
Yeah. You should try homeschool, like a
Well,
homeschool type
we
site.
we can talk more about that
All right then.
offline. So
Yeah.
but this young engineer had invested a lot of time in doing this. He had a 3D printer, so he was able to print the parts out. But I gave him the Luzbot as sort of a compensation for his efforts.
Yeah.
He's a very industrious young man. I really admire him. He seems to have his head on right, so to speak. He's just married after he graduated, and they have a baby just recently born, which
Oh,
kind of, in a sense, it's kind of a parallel to my life. Only he's much farther down the road than I was at the same time in life. So
right.
I have a little admiration, really a lot of admiration for the fellow. But getting back to the fluid stream driven motor, and I'm saying that it's going to really change the world. And of course, I realize it may not be in my lifetime, but at some point it will change the world. Uh,
You
and
got
it's going
some
to be,
ideas how that can be applied
yeah.
and how that works
There's
out?
several groups that teams, I might say, that I've given rights to produce this thing because it is
Okay.
a patent, to keep from having patent infringement.
Mhm.
I give them rights to pursue development of this thing.
What kind of stuff are they looking at? What kind
Uh,
of things?
the primary thing they're looking at is driving a generator for home use or larger.
That's what I
And
want. That's what I want.
well,
Yes, I
it's going to
want.
start off very small.
Well,
And
sure.
the reason it's going to be very small is it can appeal to, I think, campers who go camping and they not much electricity, but they need some small amount of
Yeah.
electricity.
Uh-huh.
So this thing could appeal to campers. It could also, in the third world nation, there are so many, I mean, it's millions, hundreds of millions of people that have no electricity in this world. It's not available.
Right.
This unit could be dispensed to them through some agency or
Uh-huh.
agencies. And if they have a source of water nearby, they have electricity because this thing is water driven.
Yeah.
So
Well, that would make sense. Yeah.
we can get into that
Yeah.
perhaps later in more detail. The fluid stream motor uh, provides a means initially to recover energy from existing fluid streams. For instance, in gas plants, they compress gases, and those gases are released to lower pressure areas. At those low pressure areas where the pressure is released, they could be driving a fluid stream driven motor and
Okay.
produce electricity.
So
So
you're talking about like in major plants where we see the steam coming off of them or
yeah,
byproducts rising off of them, that can be
right,
captured and can go through this, that would be
yeah,
seen as a fluid that would go through that stream motor.
yeah. An
Okay.
example of what you're talking about is a power plant where they
Okay.
get the steam, let's say using coal. They produce the steam, but they have to cool it back down to liquid so they can pump it back into the boiler.
Yeah.
So they run it through cooling towers, and the cooling towers condense that steam back down from steam into liquid pumps, then pump that liquid back into the boiler, becomes steam again,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
driven over to the generators.
Well, what
And
about the cooling towers on a nuclear plant?
well, the cooling towers is pretty much the same thing. They're
Would the
cooling
fluid stream be put like in the
steam.
middle of that
They have
cooling tower?
yeah, they have yeah, they have a steam, what they call a steam chest. This thing is huge. It's as big as a building.
Uh,
And the steam chest, the steam comes off the generator and into the steam chest is condensed back into water. Now that's a
mhm.
closed loop, and that's why you have a steam chest. And one side of that steam chest, I say sides because you got two cycles there. One, the steam comes in, cools down, makes a liquid, it gets repumped uh, into the steam generator.
Yeah.
Okay. The other side of that is water is sent out to the cooling tower to cool down to ambient or try to get it to ambient, whatever the temperature is outside. And
Yeah.
then it comes back into the steam chest. And the cycle is it's like two loops there. But in
Oh,
essence, you can take the steam off of the generator, and before it goes to the steam chest, you can pull that because the pressure drops when it goes to the steam chest. You can take a fluid stream driven motor, insert it into that loop, and make electricity. So it's additional electricity. It increases the efficiency of
yeah.
the plant. That goes for coal fired plants.
Uh-huh.
Any plant that uses steam that's condensed back into liquid.
Yeah.
There is a more recent, but a very, very expensive method of never letting the steam go to liquid, but that's a pretty exotic process.
You have to
Actually,
maintain a heat level to
yeah,
continue
you
that
do.
kind. But
Right.
whereas, so that's secondary
Yeah.
ideas or byproduct, but then there's the main idea of just
Yeah.
using liquid in its normal state.
Yeah. Using
Yeah,
the,
whether it's water or whatever.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the first application could be to insert these as pieces of, you might call it auxiliary equipment
Yeah.
that produces electricity.
Well,
Just,
I want to be first on your list for home generator.
Okay.
Because I
The
want Ameren calling me and saying, what's
yes,
going on here?
yeah,
Because I think that's how this will become, it will sell itself, I believe. It will have to
yeah.
sell itself that way.
Well, the fluid stream motor has the following characteristic, and this is where we get into the home generation. And it's going to create a new source of energy. Now, of course, we all know what centrifugal force is. Centrifugal force is going to be utilized in the fluid stream driven motor to continuously produce centrifugal force. And that centrifugal force is going to be used to continuously drive the fluid stream driven motor and produce electricity.
Gotcha.
So that's to use talking about centrifugal force quickly. Centrifugal force is a force that acts outwardly on a body revolving around a center. And to get a grasp on that, think of a ball on the end of a string, and you're twirling that ball over your head, and you feel the force on the string. The faster you spin the ball, the greater the force. And that's the force we're talking about harnessing in the fluid stream driven motor. And it's going to revolutionize energy production by one, as I just mentioned, continuously producing and converting centrifugal force into mechanical energy.
So it will continue. It doesn't stop on its
Continuously.
own,
Oh, no,
and
it doesn't
it
stop.
doesn't need any. It uses its own energy to continue.
Yeah.
Or it's
well,
wow.
you might liken this. Really, it's not so unique in that if you think of a hydroelectric power dam, as long as you
Yeah.
have a reservoir of water back there,
Yeah.
you got electric power.
Well, that's
If the
true.
reservoir goes away, it doesn't run. Well,
Right.
this unit is the same principle there. As long as it has water in it or a liquid, it could be any kind of liquid, depending on where it's at. You know, if you had one up
But
in the
it's
lab.
encased, right? It
Oh yeah,
like you could be in
enclosed.
a drought and you still have just
Yeah,
water enough for the
right.
machine, and it will
That's right.
continue to
Yeah,
its
as long as you've
own.
got water in it, as long as it has
Wow.
water, it will continue to run. But the
Mm-hmm.
water goes away, then it quits running. You know, if it evaporated, then, but it's going to be enclosed, so there shouldn't be a problem with evaporation. So power production is probably the most useful application of this thing, but there could be many other applications for the fluid stream driven motor. I had kind of mentioned this in other things that I've written about. You could use this to produce power on satellite
Mm-hmm.
around the Earth. You could also use it to produce
Wow.
power
Yeah.
on a moon base or Mars base because
There
it
it
uses
is.
centrifugal force to
Right. Even
motivate.
on rocket power,
Well, the rocket
would it be
just,
too heavy for a rocket
no, not at all. You know,
in comparison to all the fuel that it's got?
well, what happens is
Packs.
the rockets today are used to launch
Mm-hmm. Oh, true.
payloads into orbit.
Uh-huh.
Once that payload's in orbit, if you had a fluid stream driven motor on there, it could produce the electricity that you need. Of
Yeah.
course, we're talking about an appropriately designed unit for the power that you need on there.
So here's a little sideline rabbit trail.
Okay.
So the Chinese balloon that went over our country,
Yeah.
do you think that it had one of those on it?
No,
Because
but
they
what,
couldn't, like, what powered that booger?
well,
It just seemed to be floating along, but it had devices on it, right?
inside,
Inside of it, yeah.
I understand it had solar panels on the top. It was,
Oh, it did, okay.
yeah. And I have an idea of how they could have, not that they did, but how they could have propelled this balloon and made it move in different directions across the United
Oh,
States. Uh, in some cases, you use the wind, but in the others, if you want to go laterally to the wind,
uh-huh.
when I was in my 20s, like early 20s, I came up with a concept for thrust. And you may have heard me talk about thrusters before now, gyroscopic
Mm-hmm.
thrusters.
I think we had that in a previous
Yeah,
segment that we've
perhaps.
done together.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we have. But with gyroscopic thrusters, you can make an item go anywhere you want it to go.
Okay.
An object, you can make an object go anywhere you want it to go. So I suspect they had something like that. And to get into that a little deeper, I found a video of an Englishman, a machinist, who had developed a gyroscopic lifting device.
Oh.
And with that lifting device, he got it to the point that I think he got a patent for it. I'm not sure. I've not pursued that to see what it was all about. I just accept the video as for what it showed. It showed him running his unit. It also showed that NASA bought that unit from him. NASA bought it, and they showed the unit that NASA had developed based on this machinist in England and on his device. So I have no doubt that that technology is being pursued.
Right.
That gets us away from the fluid
I
stream
know.
motor.
I know.
But
I just
on
took
the other
that
hand,
for a second and just wondered, do you think
you can
that
team the
maybe-
fluid stream driven motor up with that gyroscopic propulsion device,
Yeah.
and it's a whole new area of endeavor.
Oh, yeah.
So
You'll be going places.
you could, yeah,
Like
you could
without
use-
stopping for
yeah, and
refuel.
you wouldn't have to have wings on an airplane. You could have a pod that had this unit on it or these units, and it would actually lift up, and you could
That's amazing.
it would lift off against gravity
Just
and laterally to any direction that you wanted to go.
yeah.
But that's all future stuff.
Yeah. Future now.
Yeah,
Apparently.
as time goes.
Yeah.
Essentially, my message is that we'll work together to make this world a better place.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And you can't stop progress. That's right. You can't stop progress. If things stop progressing, then it just.
Well, you can't have progress stop. Things either get better or they get worse, but they never stay stagnant in the world we live in.
Right. So maybe if we think that we're staying stagnant, we're really not. We're being dragged along with progress.
Just your perspective.
Right. Okay. That's philosophical now. That's getting deep. The good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I have a few questions for you before you're out of here because we just want to get to know you better.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure you've been on many vacations. What was your favorite vacation destination?
Wow. You know, I was thinking about that the other day.
Oh, good.
Favorite vacation location, destination. And it's so hard to say because they're different facets of vacation. You know, some things are better on some vacations than others.
Right.
I'm going to say the most interesting. It was not a vacation as much as it was a job assignment. That's really what's led me to all these different locations. In general, of course, we've taken some vacations where we went to Europe, Africa, that sort of thing. But I think my experience in India was really an eye opener because in Calcutta, India, where I was assigned, you have middle class that's rising.
Yeah.
But you also have the most poverty-stricken part of India in Calcutta. So we got to see the poverty-stricken, and of course I worked with the rising middle class Indians, and living in a 5-star hotel. It was at least 5 stars. If there are any higher than that, it was tops. It was as high as you get. You see the world from a different perspective there when it's not everybody lives that way, but because I was over there and Kathy was able to go over there as well, we saw some very interesting things in India. So I got to say that's probably the most interesting vacation I've ever had, although every vacation has its interesting aspects.
Yeah. I know you talked to me about it some. about the religious aspects and how it interacts with the culture. It's very
Right.
rich and unique.
It is.
So, yeah.
People, even in Houston, I have Indian friends.
Yeah.
They
Well,
are really, to me, such nice people. And I think
yeah.
it's the religious teachings that bring that
Mhm.
about.
Yeah.
So, in
Well,
every
I'm a big
society,
fan of Eastern Indian food myself. I
I am
am.
too. I love it.
And here's a little rabbit trail. I was just coming back from a trip from the Ohio area with my son Austin, and we were in Nowhere, Indiana. Nowhere. And he's like, Mom, I think I saw a sign for an Indian restaurant. We need to get off at the next exit. And I said, I think you misread it. It probably said Indiana, not Indian. And I got off anyway. There was nothing there but this just beat up truck stop. And it's in Spiceland, Indiana, if anybody wants to look for it. But we went up there, and no kidding, there was an Eastern Indian owned truck stop. And it wasn't immaculate at all. But when we went inside, there was all of these ethnic truck drivers and a few locals that were ethnic people. And the TV was in, I guess, Hindi or whatever the language is. And I was like, I think I'm gonna like this. And we had some of the best Indian food we've ever had in Spiceland, Indiana, at a broken down truck. Well, not broken down, but not the best looking truck stop, but it has the best Indian food. But anyway, so I like their food. But I guess I should go on to another question. So let's see, favorite movie.
Well, there's another tough one there. I'm not a movie fan.
Yeah, I
I
have a hard
suppose,
time.
I suppose uh, this is very controversial in this country. Song of the South.
Oh, I've heard you talk about that from your childhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
In elementary school, if we attended that at the theater, we got extra credit.
Really?
But yeah, I said
Huh.
elementary, it may have been junior high school, but it was such a beautiful movie.
Uh-huh.
And of course, today people, in fact, it's been banned from the United States.
Yeah.
Not allowed.
Yeah.
But I did get a copy of it as a birthday present on a CD,
Uh-huh.
compact disc.
Well, the
It's
stories are rich.
it
The
is.
stories are rich in that.
Mhm.
So let's see. If I come to Houston, where are we going to go out to go eat? If I come to Houston with, say it's just me, not my
Petroleum
family.
Club, probably.
The Petroleum Club. Okay. So what are you going to order to
Yeah,
eat? What's your favorite thing
I'll
there?
go to the Houston Petroleum Club.
All right.
Well, gee, I'd say steak,
Steak.
some steak.
You're a beef eater.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cattleman. And what are you going to have to drink with your steak?
probably a glass of red wine.
Okay. And then what are you going to have for dessert?
They have a really nice, I think it's called a pecan ball. It's ice cream with nuts around the outside of it.
Ooh, that
But
sounds yummy.
it is.
Huh.
It is very good.
All right. That sounds good. Well, I'll have to do that sometime.
Sure.
I don't know when I can get out there all by myself, but sounds like a good time awaits. But
Yeah.
all right. Well, thanks, Dad, for having this segment together and to bring us up to date, especially on the application part. We have talked little about application as we've come along in the video segments, but I really appreciate this one and talking about how you are allowing folks to use the patent to be able to develop really good applications for this fluid driven motor. I hope I said that right. Fluid stream driven motor. There we go.
Right.
Okay, so until next time, we will see you later. And this has been the Wobbleman and his daughter, Kim.
Dr. Kim.
Dr. Kim, that's right. The Wobbleman and Dr. Kim. See you later, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.